Good evening, Mike Hecktus, Extraordinary Life Live. First off, I'm going to tell you right now, if we should cut out my friend Kevin Cahill. How are you, Kevin?
I'm great. Yourself, Mike?
Great. I was going to introduce you in a minute, but we're going to chat for a minute. Every time we go on one of these lives, and you nailed it. The energy is so great in the room that we kind of blow up the internet. And we've blown up the internet before we even started tonight. We're sitting here chatting, and I couldn't go on live. I lost the signal completely, so it's pretty good. But anyway, if you're coming on tonight, please let us know where you're coming in from. Put down a hashtag live or a hashtag replay, because I always want to get back and talk to you about the comments that you've left, or say hi and thank you for jumping on board. So make sure you do that. Let us know where you're coming in from. I see a lot of names popping up there already. Lisa Byfield from Australia, how are you? Throw us some thumbs up and some hearts as we go along, just to know Kevin's being loved by you guys. This whole Extraordinary Life Live started back when Vicki and I first got involved with Zija in the health and wellness business, because we found a lot of people were finding some great results when they made their health their number one priority. And it was kind of neat to have people just notice little things in their life, whether it's arthritis or knee pain or back pain, or whether it was weight gain and loss, that they were seeing some results. And I said, you got a great story. You need to share that story with some people. And then I realized, let's do it here. But then it expanded to the point where I was running into a number of people that had stories that were even more impactful, that I knew could help people and reach out and touch people. These were stories of struggle that people were going through. Maybe it was addiction, and maybe it was just a fear of public speaking, or a fear of just coming onto Facebook and building a relationship with people. So people have a lot of things that hold them back. Yeah, I see the hearts and thumbs. You're right. It's crazy how so many of us, fear is being probably one of the biggest ones that holds people back, and we don't realize why we're scared. And one of my biggest fears has always been what people think. What people are going to think of Mike Hecktus, because I've always had this image or this person that I've put out into the world and the universe, who I was, and since over time that has really changed as well. The image that I thought that I'm supposed to be, and who I am now, and I've learned to find my inner self now too, just through doing these things and speaking with some people, and it's become a very powerful message. And so a lot of the people that we've interviewed have been the same. So tonight I met Kevin for the first time, I think it was probably a year ago, or was it more than that?
I'm going to say a year and a half ago. Mo Mondays, Kitchener, Waterloo,
Mo Mondays
Tavern.
There you go. So those that don't know, Mo Monday is there's 14 Mo Mondays now across Canada, right?
Correct.
Across Canada. And what it is on a Monday night, and it's a specific Monday night for each different city, we have a host like Kevin, who was in Guelph, and we'll get to that in a minute, because I said was in Guelph. Last night was Guelph, and where you invite guests up to tell their story. And it's their first opportunity for so many to stand up there for the first time in public and share their story. And it's so cool to see how that story, whether they break down or whether they get this big smile on their face, like they've just had 20 pounds lifted off their shoulders, whatever. It's just such a powerful night. And it's across Canada in a number of different venues. But Kevin has been hosting the Guelph one for 2 years now. And I know that because last night was your second anniversary. Some things I know. But Kevin and I met at Mo Mondays. I spoke in Kitchener, and then Kevin invited me down to speak in Guelph. And we sat down at a coffee shop one time in between, and we shared kind of our stories together. And I'm going to first read the bio that I put on there. And I said to Kevin when I read this, I said, buddy, I mean, this is you now. And this is not even scratching the surface as to who you are and what you've become. Last night, I sat at the bar in tears, man, listening to your story. But anyway, Kevin is an award-winning sales professional and consultant, specializing in the art of managing change and achieving great results. As the founder of Change Revolution, this international best-selling author and speaker inspires men and women alike. As someone who has mastered the art of resiliency and hope, Kevin's philosophy as a clarity builder is strategic and results driven. So that's the bio we posted to stir some interest.
That's the marketing speak.
The marketing speak. There you go. Well, and speaking of that, I mean, you've been very successful with Dale Carnegie course as well as Toastmasters, correct? I mean, I think you're spearheading Toastmasters, right? Or is that you stepped down from that now too?
My week next week is going to be incredibly quiet.
Wow.
Toastmasters It came as a result of Mo Mondays.
Wow.
After 6 months with Mo Mondays, I realized a lot of our speakers, Mo Mondays for the audience is kind of a combination between where Toastmasters meets TED Talks. You've got your mix between amateurs first time on the stage, but also professionals that are trying out new material. So a lot of our speakers are past Toastmasters. And I reached out to Toastmasters and basically said, hey, you've got speakers, I've got the stage, let's work together.
Yeah.
And they asked me, well, would you like to start your own club? And I said, yes, I've never actually been to a Toastmasters meeting.
Why wouldn't I?
But yeah, let's do it. I was in a stage in my life where I was saying yes to everything. And I went and checked out a Toastmasters meeting. I fell in love with the concept. I, at that point, still am, but I was a speaker. Mm-hmm. And in the year and a half that I've been in Toastmasters, the feedback and the evaluation and the refinement of my own craft as a speaker has been invaluable. There's the membership cost compared to what I actually have gotten out of the program. So for the last year, I've been president of my club as well as area director, a speakers bureau chair for basically half of Ontario. And as of June 30th, I'm no longer president, I'm no longer area director, and I'm no longer speakers chair. I just get to be a member.
And no longer Mo Mondays.
No longer Mo Mondays. We dropped that bomb to 60 people last night that had no idea it was coming. It was a great 2 years, 25 shows, 133 speakers, 23 musical guests, 1,300 people came over the course of those 25 shows. We raised a lot of money for some great local organizations as well. And I felt it was the right time. I felt I wanted to leave before my passion started to wane.
That's exactly what it's all about. Is you know when it's time. I mean, it's one of those signs where even though, as we were talking earlier, every show was sold out except for one. Those 2 years. You even held one on Boxing Day. And what was the other one you held? It was the May long weekend. Yes. So the May long weekend on a Monday,
Easter Monday,
on a holiday Monday, and he still packed the place out. So it was great. It was awesome, and the crowd last night. I had no idea. I wanted to pop down just because you were going to be on tonight, just to say hi and thank you. But I had no idea it was your last night. I'm so blessed that I was there last night to see that last one, guys. It was. Man, it was a powerful night. He had a couple speakers on there and a couple of your partners too, your photographer and also what was your Angela, co-host. Two amazing stories that were just so powerful. I mean, it was a very emotional night, but again, you leave with a lot of hope. You leave with a lot of encouragement that, you know what, maybe my situation isn't that bad. I mean, we struggled today, and we chatted about it earlier just tonight. And this is going to turn into a coffee shop. Normally I have no notes, as you can see. I have nothing.
Well, I was like, where's the coffee?
We're drinking water. I don't need to wire you up anymore. Don't need to wind this guy up. But that's exactly, it's one of those things where it's just the energy and chatting earlier, but just that whole, I kind of lost my train of thought in there. You'll see a squirrel, as I always tell you. A squirrel comes in.
Hope.
Yeah.
You know, and I say this to all the speakers, especially the newer ones, is that it doesn't matter. A lot of speakers will prepare their notes and they'll be nervous about it. I said, it really doesn't matter what you share, because as soon as you get on the stage, the divine takes over, and whatever message needs to be shared is going to get shared. And there's always going to be at least one person in that room that is going to resonate with that story. Yeah. And it's hope. It's that one person that they don't know why they came to Mo Mondays in the first place. They walk through the door, kind of like Field of Dreams, right? They'll come. They walk through that door, they hear that message, and it's that message of me too, right? I've gone through that, or I am going through that. Yeah. I'm in the shithole. Can we start on this? Okay.
Too late.
I'm in the shithole. I don't know how I can get through it. You've been through it? Wow, I want to talk to you. I want to meet you because you're now my hero. And that's really what Mo Mondays is all about. Yeah. You know, and I think there's the one, Angela and Julia, my photographer co-host, that was their first time ever on stage. Oh. Ever.
Julie was amazing.
And they both had me in tears, and then I was in tears. Yeah. But even the story of Brandon, who's the Mo host in Aurora.
Yes.
Brandon has no sight.
Yep.
And he is a year and a half as a Mo host in Aurora, runs a great show. And he told this amazing story of sitting down at a Tim Hortons and a homeless person sat beside him in the conversation to find out that he was a past professional saxophone player. And Brandon went out and rented a saxophone for a day.
Yeah.
And just the change that had on that person's life.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, like you said, the homeless guy offered him food. That could have been the only meal that he was going to get that day. So the stories are amazing. And that's what I was going to say is I usually have notes, but I don't even prepare any notes on it because I knew this was just going to be an open conversation because we do share so many passions. And that's, again, where this Extraordinary Life came from, was a kind of a spin-off from Mo Mondays, because even though we're not in a live audience, it gives us a chance to reach out to people on a global level. And through our business, we are, like I say, we're in South Africa now, we're in Asia, we're in UK and Poland and in Australia. So we're reaching a lot of people, and it's very cool. I expect you're going to get some reaches from a number of people saying, tell me more. But right now, like I say, the energy that we've got and where you are right now in your life is spectacular. But as we always said, life's not a bed of roses, man. And we had some really heart-to-heart talks in the coffee shop. I'm going to get emotional. It wasn't all bed of roses. You're a cancer survivor. Let's start there.
To me, the cancer is the least interesting thing about me. You know, and it's, as we said before we were chatting, as I always refer to, as you're going along life's path, there is a divine path that's already set out for us. And no matter what we think we want or what we think we need to be doing, the divine is always there. Kind of like Wizard of Oz, right? The Yellow Brick Road. The Yellow Brick Road is getting presented to us one brick at a time.
Yeah. And
if we choose to go off the path, much like Dorothy did in the movie, bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Because the silent hand of the universe becomes the silent shove, or the silent kick or punch, or eventually, in my case, it was a silent sledgehammer. You know, the last element for me is walking into the doctor's office and the specialist saying, you have cancer. And I remember that moment forever, because that was the moment where I wasn't scared, I wasn't filled with fear, I wasn't worried, because of everything else I had already been through. And I had mastered fear, and not necessarily in the point of ignoring fear, that fear doesn't exist. And I love the example, Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She has this great analogy in her newest book, and she talks about how fear is allowed to be in the car. It's just not allowed to have its hand on the steering wheel or play with the radio dials. It sits in the back seat. Because we need fear to guide us as to what is, you know, could put us in danger.
Right.
But, you know, it doesn't need to control our lives. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I remember looking up to the heavens above and saying, I get it. I surrender.
Yeah.
I surrender to your power.
Yeah.
Because, you know, before cancer, it was bankruptcy, losing all of my financial possessions, my 7th concussion, which left me with severe post-concussion syndrome, divorce, parents' death, public shaming, arrested and accused for sexual assault, you know, and the list can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And it was finally all of those things. I celebrate those things now. I celebrate every single challenge I ever went through, because it helped to mold me to where I am today.
Yeah.
And, you know, the life I have now, my slogan is love the life you were meant to lead.
Yeah.
And not love the life that you can write on a piece of paper, or that you see on a TV show, or you see on a billboard. It's whatever is going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah. And again, I knew the story going back even further, some of the things that had gone on in your life. And it's, and I started with the cancer because so many people can relate to that, and they think, oh, that's cancer. There it is again. But it's those other tests that you were put through that made you stronger and stronger. So cancer for you is like, oh, just another thing, right? Just, and everybody's doing that, but not everybody goes through bankruptcy. Not everybody is financially everything taken from you. I mean, we've been through that. I know what it's like. But the public shaming and all that other stuff. I mean, and both parents. I mean, I've had my dad pass away, but it's those other tests that we're put through to make us stronger. And we always ask why, like why? Where am I going? Why is this happening to me? And it's the lessons that we learn from that. But as we talked earlier, if we're not going to live for the moment and for the day that we're in, like first off, he's very forgiving. Our Lord and Savior is very forgiving. He puts everything in the past is the past. I've forgiven you for that. Quit dwelling on that. But we continue to look back at those things, but it's looking back as to the message and the leadership that it gave us, or the guidance that it gave us to get where we are today. And those are the things that are so powerful. So, and you can't look at the future as much as, here's where I want to be. Here's what I want to do. We have to look at, I was telling you earlier, I sat down with a friend of mine today, and he says, I had 3 tasks today, and that's what I focus on today. Tomorrow I'll focus on the next tasks. And that's what you're doing now. Like I say, last night you closed the chapter. Today was another day. Tomorrow will be another day. And that's how we move on. So through all these things, what was the first thing that helped you realize that I need to now stop trying to guide myself and follow a path that's been, or if that's what you did? I mean, how did you find, because right now I love being in your energy, and we're going to probably blow up the internet in a minute because the energy is going to get even better. But what brought you to this point where you are now, and how you're helping so many people? You're this servant leader that we all want to be.
Well, thank you. That's humbling. And I'll look back 4 years ago, April 2014, and I was at my lowest. I was dealing with severe post-concussion syndrome, major headaches, couldn't concentrate. My doctor had me leave my employment. I ran my own firm, and the insurance companies were refusing to pay my disability benefits to give me the time off. So I was stuck between the financial system and the healthcare system and the insurance system, because the creditors, they wanted their money. So in a very short period of time, I racked up $400,000 of unsecured debt almost overnight.
Wow.
And I was hanging on to everything. I truly was hanging on, reacting to everything. And it was a mutual friend of ours, Doug Dane, came back from a Bob Proctor session, and he sat down and he drew out the Dr. Thurman Fleet stick figure.
Oh, yeah.
And he drew it out on a napkin. And for the viewers, I have a picture of this on my computer at home, so I'll post it in the comments when I get home.
Perfect. Yep.
Because
Stick man.
it totally saved my life.
Yeah.
Once you realize that, worry and doubt causes fear, and fear causes anxiety. And we're taught as children to suppress that anxiety.
Absolutely.
And as soon as we suppress it, that results in depression, which is disease, and you have no control over anything. So where the flip side is having knowledge and faith. And I think, we talked about this earlier. I got here about, half hour before the show, so we talked about a lot of things. But faith, and we're living in such an interesting time right now where, when you bring up faith, a lot of people will run for the hills.
Oh, absolutely.
But God's not the problem. A lot of people have issues with the rules and the regulations, and a lot of people have issues with the topic of Jesus.
Yeah.
And when I say faith, it's not faith in a religion or faith in a particular dogma. It's that faith that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be presented with whatever you need in that moment. And when you have that knowledge, when you have that faith, it sets you on that positive course, right? Where you want to express it. You're vibrating high.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in that state, you have full control over everything, because nothing phases you.
Yeah.
Nothing that, the person at the Tim Hortons will ever do could ever throw you off, because you're just in this joy. So that was the start. And he signed me up as his first client in Thinking into Results. And it really gave me the framework, because it gave me something to focus on every day.
Yeah.
It gave me something. I wasn't focusing on the bills. I wasn't focusing on the creditors or the process servers that were knocking on my door to serve me with court documents. And but through that, I will always want to learn. I always inquire. I'm always asking why. I'm very curious. So I started studying the life of Napoleon Hill.
Right.
And, yes, I had read Think and Grow Rich cover to cover every day, it seemed. But then I read the book that came before Think and Grow Rich. It's this big, 16 Laws of Success.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's a huge book. And but then I came across Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And for the viewers, Think and Grow Rich was written in 1937. And most people don't realize that his ex-wife actually has the rights to it. And she makes all the money off of it. After it was released, and she was the one that wanted him to release it, he then went and wrote Outwitting the Devil.
Yeah.
And Outwitting the Devil is very similar to C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters. It's actually similar to Jesus's 40 days in the desert before his crucifixion. And it's that battle where Napoleon Hill had a conversation with the devil.
Yeah.
And he basically held the devil ransom to get all the secrets. And outwitting the devil is outwitting fear, outwitting that terror that we all have. Because at the end of the day, the Bible begins, in the beginning, God created the light. Well, the light was separated from the darkness.
Yeah.
But we have light and dark in us at all times.
Absolutely.
And the rest of the Bible, all the way to the end of Revelations, is really just teaching us how to coexist with both light and dark.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's learning how to work with our light and our darkness, because we have it all. So reading Outwitting the Devil just blew my mind.
Yeah, I've got it upstairs on my
And
nightstand.
it set me on an incredible course. I spoke about this last night. I went to Cuba December 2014, January 2015. And Napoleon Hill says, write your thoughts in the sands of the sea and let the waves carry them away.
Yeah.
And I'm writing with a little twig, and I eventually write, stop searching for God. You are God. And that moment, and every time I say it, I just get shivers all the way through my body. Because we are.
Yeah.
We're all God. We are all created in his likeness.
Yeah.
We are all part of that one universal source, that one divine light, where we're all connected. We're all connected to the source. And, when it comes to religion, I use the analogy that we all drink from the same aquifer. Mm-hmm. We just get there a little differently, right? Some people are in different areas of the stream.
Yeah.
And that moment, I came back from Cuba. I felt free.
Yeah.
I felt alive, and felt alive for the first time in a long time. Because, I came to university to be a vet because that's what I thought my parents wanted me to do. I wrote my MCATs.
Yeah.
I focused on getting the good marks. I got the six-figure job with the company car right after university. I then went into the financial world where I was making, multiple six figures a year and living the fancy suit, jetting around the world lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the challenges started happening. My father-in-law died my first day in the financial world. Wow. And he left a $3 million company with no planning and was reduced to $100,000. A year later, my mom died. And then, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And then I was accused of sexual assault. And dad died and it made the front page of the paper and the concussion. And then we're now here at 2015 and I'm free. I've gone through all of those things. Yeah. Nothing can touch me. And I decide that I had a project on my someday shelf, a project from, a few years ago, and it was an ex-girlfriend that inspired it in me. And I got an email that a piece I wrote was going to get refeatured, and it triggered some really negative emotions from the past. And I meditated. I took the time to really understand the emotions. Again, a lot of the learning of Napoleon Hill. And I decided to take a project from my someday shelf and make it real.
Yeah.
And I set out around the world to interview people about who inspired them to aim higher, dream bigger, and think larger, because my dad inspired me.
Awesome.
My dad, when I was 3 years old, was crushed by an elevator, was disabled my entire life. Mm-hmm. But yet he had an incredible faith life, and he was very grounded. Also in Alcoholics Anonymous, so he really lived the 12-step philosophy.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
So I released the book, and it became a bestseller, and I fell into the trap again. I fell into the trap of status and significance and titles.
Yeah.
And I went on a speaking tour. I was living the life again. And I helped a friend move a barbecue. that fall, September 2015, and I threw my back out. And I was in bed for 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it's my business partner, my co-host, that she basically texted me and said, if you don't go to the doctor, I am going to come to your condo and drag you to the hospital. So I walked down the street to my doctor, and because she literally is right down the street. And that was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. On the Thursday, I had an ultrasound. The Tuesday after Thanksgiving is when I was diagnosed with cancer, and they wanted to have the surgery right away. And because of everything else I've been through, I said to the specialist, I'm pretty sure that tumor has been there for a while. My son has a hockey tournament this weekend. I can't make it, so when's your next surgery?
Yeah.
And he said November 11th, which is 3 weeks down the road, and I'm all about numbers, and 11 is that you're on the path to awareness. Perfect, I'll take it. And he's like, and then talking about treatment, and, we'll do this, and then you'll have chemo. I'm like, no, I don't want to have chemo. Yeah. What do you mean you don't want to have chemo? I'm like, I don't need chemo. Well, everyone gets chemo. I'm like, I'm not everyone.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm different.
So, and I think that is the learning and the knowledge to find, chemo was invented in the German concentration camps by Bayer because they would send people into the gas chambers to kill them, and some people got better. And that's where chemo started. Yeah. So I wanted my cells. Still dealing with the concussion effects. I saw my dad, my two fathers actually, my dad and my father-in-law die of cancer, and it wasn't cancer, it was chemo. Yeah. It was the chemo that destroyed everything else. So,
slowed everything down.
My surgeon still to this day, specialist says, that I'm different. But I bring that air of calmness into his office because people that are going in there are not calm. Yeah. And I'm there cracking jokes and talking to people. And, so it's been, ever since that moment, it's been such a freeing moment. And after the book was released in 2015, I just kept writing my thoughts and my journals, and I'd post on social media every day. I think I probably posted every day for the last 3 years, except today, because of the freeness from yesterday. And I collected all of those. Wow. And a couple months ago, I realized that I was, 250,000 words in a Word document. Yeah. And I started rereading it. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is the process I went through. Yeah. This is my life over the last 3 years. And I realized in order to answer your question 20 minutes ago, how did I get here? I had to learn how to manage change. Yeah. I had to realize that much like the seasons of life, we have fall, which fall leads to winter, winter leads to spring, spring leads to summer. Now in Canada, we might have all 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah, I was going to say that we have 2 now.
But, how do we prepare for change? Yeah. The fall of our lives is how do we prepare for change? Mm-hmm. As soon as those leaves start turning colors, that's the symbol to us that we're in for change. Mm-hmm. How do we move through suffering? Joseph Campbell, actually it's not Joseph Campbell, but Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey, but also it's a Catholic thing, the dark night of the soul. A number of monks and Mother Teresa referred to dark night of the soul is the winter of our lives, that's suffering, where it's bleak and it's dark and we're in the shithole and we're screaming, why, God, why? But even Jesus, right before he surrendered to life, and I usually butcher it in Latin, the Alae sabachthani, my God, why have you forsaken me? Right. Even Jesus raised his fist to the heaven and screamed out. Yeah. We all go through that. And then the spring of our lives. How do we accept joy? Yeah. That was my biggest struggle. How do I stay humble enough to accept joy? Yeah. Because if you don't learn to accept joy, you're going to go back to the beginning again. You're going to go back to change. Yeah. You're going to go back to suffering. Yeah. Because I really do believe we're all put here to learn something. Yeah. And we're going to keep repeating the same mistakes. Yeah, exactly. Whether it's, in dating, whether it's a blonde or a brunette or a redhead, or if it's in a job, whether it's sales or finance or sweeping streets, if we don't learn the lesson, we're going to keep repeating the same mistakes in the specific areas we're in.
Absolutely.
And that's what spring is. Spring is that joy of the leaves are coming back, the sun is feeling warmer. That's when I have to wear a hat because my head starts to burn. And it's that you're celebrating it. Mm-hmm. But then comes summer, right? That concept of there's a time to plant, a time to harvest, a time to reap.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't do something in the spring of our lives, if we don't plant the seeds in our joy, in our time to grow, how are we going to mature and serve in the summertime?
Yeah.
And if we don't do something with the crap we went through, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? You know, and I've never heard anyone say, you know, life was falling apart. I was at my rock bottom, so I developed a 3-point plan of restoration. No, I was driving around one day, and all of a sudden I said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm going to make a change. That's moving through change. Exactly. That's moving through the suffering.
And how many of those people that when they say that, all of a sudden they see that change and they fall back again into that same habitual pattern that they used to be in. And that's the biggest thing is breaking that wall down. Like we said, that change and breaking that fear down. And so many people are afraid of change. That's the biggest problem is they get afraid of change because you know what? It's going into the unknown. But until you learn to accept the unknown as exciting.
Well, and I use the analogy in my story particular about the combination lock. So a big part of my story is that, and this has been a part of my story for the last 8 years, is that if you Google Kevin Cahill, the first 2 things you will see is accused of sexual assault, found guilty of sexual assault. Well, I was never found guilty, but the media can do whatever they want.
Yep.
And I lived in fear for 7 years. Not only of a prospective employer, a prospective client, a prospective friend, Googling my name and reading that story before they had a chance to meet me.
Right.
But the fear I had was my son, who's now 10, Googling my name and finding the story before I had a chance to tell him.
Yeah.
And I lived in fear of that. And it was last summer, it was actually probably May of last year, where I was invited to speak at Mo Monday's Niagara. That show, the host is retired. They're an amazing person. You should connect with him if you haven't already haven't, Ronnie Fisher. But he had me open up the show. And I decided it was time to take that fear. And so my presentation that night took the form of me writing a letter to my son for his birthday. And it was kind of like a Jimmy Fallon thank you note status, I'm writing on stage. And it was a Dear Calvin letter where I told him about the story.
Yeah.
But I really told him about how I've grown as a result of that story and how honestly, I look back and it has made me a better father.
Absolutely.
Because I've been there for him and we're together a lot. And I wrote the story. I let it go. I put it out into the world. And I put it out not knowing what the reaction was going to be. Mm-hmm. And there was that audible gasp of silence when, I wrote out I was accused of sexual assault, because it's a hotly charged topic. And the fascinating thing is there was a person in that audience that connected with me 2 days later to tell me that her brother was going through the exact same thing and they were keeping it all to themselves and it was destroying their family. And so the strength that I had, she was able to then leverage. Yeah. But what was interesting is I didn't give the letter to Calvin. Yeah. His birthday was still a few months away, so I figured I had time. We're walking home from playing tennis, and we're walking on a side street in downtown Guelph. And wouldn't you know, the Google car drives past us, the Google mapping car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, look, it's a Google car. And Calvin's all excited. He's 9 years old at this time. And then he says, without prompting, "You know, Daddy, when you Google your name, a lot of things come up."
Wow.
He had already Googled my name.
Oh.
He had already read the story. So there was a perfect example of the universe.
Yeah.
I was taking my time,
Yeah.
and it said, "Enough is enough. We're doing this for you."
Yeah.
And that's how life is, right? We have no control over the sun rising or the moon rotating around the earth, or the earth around the moon. I don't know what actually happens. Or, the trees coming up in the spring, the grass.
Yeah.
But we accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
And when we try to get in nature's way, nothing good happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We're going to have flooding or earthquakes or, tornadoes.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the biggest thing is knowing that, like you said, that first off, for your young, and that's the thing we forget about young kids, how accessible they are and how smart they are at computers. And they'll just Google anything. And it's how strong a child this is to raise, to be able to accept that he read that and just thought, oh, okay, he knew all about it, Dad. And you want to explain it, that's fine. But that's pretty powerful. But I mean, we talked about change and how often I talk with our group on here and talk about how trying to break down that wall and make that change and accept change. And there's different ways to do it. I mean, I think the biggest thing that people have is they say their life is too busy. I get up in the morning, I try to do everything I can just to get breakfast ready for myself and then the kids, and then they get the lunches packed and then get out the door. And my biggest thing is if you can't take 20 minutes for yourself in the morning to focus on you, to make you feel better that day and to give yourself, if you're not doing, you've not made yourself the number one priority. You've made everybody else around you your number one priority. You've made your job your number one priority. And it's about looking inside and wanting that joy and wanting that happiness. And we are going to go through challenges. As we both said, we've gone through a ton of challenges. I mean, they've only heard half my story. I mean, someday they'll get the next chapter. And it's crazy how we need to open that up and tell that story and why you're here tonight and where you've come from and where you are now. Now, you wrote this book in 2015. I want to jump in because last night you made another announcement. You've already got 3 books that have become number 1 bestsellers. So we're going to make sure we put that in the comments as well. So you can go on Amazon and check those out. But you've got not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 books that are launching. Can I tell them? Tomorrow. Launching tomorrow. 4 books that you've completed and they're launching tomorrow. That's insane.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that word is used as an adjective for me. So like I said, is I refer to the combination lock, and a big part of the last 3 years has been really figuring that combination lock out. Is how do I use the fact that I was accused of sexual assault to help other people, to help men, women, and children.
Right.
And without being afraid of reaction, right? Because I know that there's going to be people that are going to judge me and cast me out without even hearing me. And that has been a big struggle for me to not take it personally. And so for the last 3 years, I've just been writing and continually going. And when I got this Word document and saw the word count and reviewed it, I realized that the last 3 years I have been writing, how do we prepare for change? How do we move through suffering? How do we learn to accept joy? And how do we mature and serve? And when I realized that, at first I thought, oh, okay, I'll just put it all in one book as 4 chapters. And then I realized that would be a 800-page book to know that I would never buy an 800-page book.
Exactly.
So
give me the audiobooks, please. I'll listen to you.
Yeah, I broke it down. And the first book is continuing on my hashtag for everything is gaining clarity, with my slogan being love the life you're meant to lead. Because honestly, we are all on this earth trying to find the light. Yeah. We are born perfect, bright, brilliant lights, and society and family and school dim our light.
Absolutely. 100%.
And then there comes that time in life. Most of the time it's, a death, a divorce, or an illness breaks us open.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a choice. We can either let the light in and shine on our brokenness so we can help others, or we can get the duct tape out and try and piece it back together. And that is what I did in my journey until, my Jenga block of life finally came crumbling down into pieces, and I couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together. So the books are broken down, gaining clarity. Sometimes you take a trip. Mm-hmm. And I really equate that to my life up to this point is I've just been on a journey. Yeah. I've been on a journey of learning and lesson and struggles and being in the gutter and being on top of the world. There's been those extremes.
Exactly.
The second book is Change Your Focus. And for me to get through my suffering moments, all I had to do was change my focus. I focused on thinking into results. I talked about Napoleon Hill. I didn't talk about this, but meditating and journaling and gratitude. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I changed and took my energy out of my head and really sent it out to the universe, life got a lot more simpler. Yeah. Change Your Life is, I put it together. It's a 90-day journal. And every day in the journal, there's a positive focus. There's an ask for gratitude. What are you going to accomplish? There's a Napoleon Hill insight. There's a positive quote. And it really is a workbook that I can guarantee, and I say this to anyone, because in 2015 I launched an online course as well. Mm-hmm. And after 90 days, if you spend the time being grateful for one thing every day for 90 days, your life is different. Just doing that one simple thing, your life is different. Yeah. And the fourth book is again on the gaining clarity philosophy, and it is sometimes the trip takes you. So that is about how I learned to mature and serve, how I took what I went through to be then able to take it and help other people.
Right on.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah, I had the last book. I had this great lead up of weeks and weeks and weeks, and I followed the Peggy McCall process, and I was attached to the result. Yeah. Where this time I have no attachment. I basically just want to get rid of the Word document off my computer and put it
taking up space
into Amazon and let it go where it needs to go.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's funny you mentioned this is my spot, as you all can see in the morning. I watch the sun come up over my shoulder here in the morning, but you nailed it. I mean, that's my gratitude book every morning. As soon as I get up, the first thing I do is I write out some gratitude, and then I spend some time in meditation. And a lot of times it's just listening. It's not even any guided meditation. It's just sitting in silence and just kind of listening and just focusing on my breathing so I can listen. And then I get into reading some scripture, and I journal on that all the time. Every day I write something down and how it relates to my life and where it's going. And then I write down my goal every day. And I write that goal down, and I write it out every day as to letting go and just letting the path happen and focus on today. And I write down exactly what my day looks like, and that's where I focus it on. And we say that so often to you guys too. I mean, it's about taking control, taking back your life, and you control that. And as you have, I mean, so many people are going to have a vision or a process or a thought that they think should be best for you, as I did growing up. This is what you're going to be. This is where you're going to go. This is what we see for you. It's not what I had in me. And it's at my age now, 59, I'm finally now in a place in my life where I'm thinking, I got so much to do yet. I have so much to do. Hence why I take care of my health. That's for my Zija family, because I have so much ahead of me. And the cool thing is, as we talked about, when you get in this, and I talk about social media, as we talked about earlier, how people say, social media, that, it's all those positive people, and you look at it and go, oh, my life seems so dread, and my life just doesn't seem so positive. But no, it's surrounding yourself with those people. You have a choice who you want to be part of, what community you want to be part of. And I'm part of this amazing community in the health and wellness and personal growth community that keeps me so positive and healthy every day. And then I'm part of the Creekside church community as well, and Elevation Church community. And it's those people are the ones that I surround myself with, and that's what you need to do is and the universe brings these people to me. The universe brought you to me. It brought Doug Dane into my life. It brought Jay Whitehall into my life, Scott Barker. So all these crazy people that have come into my life that, we've all gone through those struggles, but we've stepped up and said, yeah, I've gone through it, but look where I am. And now I'm willing to, ego, as which I had before. I had the ego, which edging God out. And now I've let that go, and I've learned that, you know what, if I just go out there and share with people the love that's within me and care about other people and be that servant leader, life is so wonderful.
And that is such a great sharing the love that is inside of you.
Absolutely.
And I've really quickly realized over the last while is you can tell who has gone through the worst elements of life because they have this natural joy about them, this aura of calmness. Right, and you'll admit, like I do, is every day not perfect.
Oh,
it's still progress, not perfection.
Absolutely.
And there's still going to be those. I still have those moments where,
absolutely,
I'm angry or shaking my fist. The difference is I don't let it define me or control me, and I treat everything as an invitation. What is this supposed to teach me in this moment?
Exactly.
And try and learn from that. And staying curious is an incredible tool for this journey that we're on.
Yeah. And I love that because they always talk about your imagination too. We're always taught in school not to daydream, but now even in the Bible it talks about your imagination, and use your imagination. So anyway, I have no idea what time it is. I told you it's going to be coffee shop time with Kevin and Mike, and here we are. But is there something simple you can leave for those that are listening as to, even how they can reach out to you, or if there's anything that, something to leave them with that, is going to help them get through maybe just a moment? Is there something? I always talk to people about don't respond to a circumstance, or don't react to a circumstance, respond to it. Stop and think. I may put some music on that helps me calm down, and I'll respond instead of reacting. We always want to react to something so quickly, and then we think, why did I do that? So if there's one thing that you can, I know it's tough. I usually close down with one of these, right? Tell people, give me one thing that you could share that.
Every thought leader through time, and my curiosity took me from Napoleon Hill. I kept going backwards, right, to Charles Haanel, who wrote the Master Key System, Emerson's text, the Bible I read cover to cover a few times, Plato, Socrates. Every thought leader from time immemorial, their messages are different, but the theme is the same in all of them. Yeah. And it doesn't matter who you read or who you study, as long as you find something that resonates with yourself. But what I've learned is that and I know many other people, the source of all of my struggles has always been when I've either been worried about the future or angry about the past.
Exactly.
And when I'm living in the past or the future, I'm not here. Yeah. I'm not present. I'm not in the now. Yeah. And for every thought, question, ask, be curious, and never stop thinking.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, as we said, we can't think of the past. Thank you, my friend. And the future's not here yet. Let's live in the now. As I always say to everybody, you know what? We have love to share. Go out tomorrow, give somebody a hug, share some love to somebody out there. We're here to make a difference and to help other people and to serve other people and just do something that makes you feel really good inside, because you have no idea what other people are going through. We all are going through struggles, and it's and we can make just a difference by smiling at somebody too. So anyway, take care of everybody out there. God bless, and as always, peace. We're out of here.